Hello, good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel again. My name is Emmanuel, and in this channel, we discuss construction and construction related topics. If this is your first time watching our video, do like this video and subscribe to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about 11 ways to save cost in construction. I understand that people have different budgets, and then some people are trying to save costs, or rather I'll say optimize the project in order to make the most of all the resources they have at hand. Number one, you should try to have a minimal design, because the thing is that the cost of a 5-bedroom bungalow, 4-bedroom bungalow, 3-bedroom bungalow, 2-bedroom bungalow, they're all different. When you do your comparison, the cost of a 2-bedroom flat or 2-bedroom bungalow is almost half the price of a 4-bedroom bungalow. Let's say you've got limited resources, or based on your current situation, you haven't got a lot of money to see through the project. Rather than building a 4-bedroom bungalow or a 5-bedroom bungalow, you can go for a 3-bedroom bungalow. Also, you need to consider other things like having excessive corners in the building, because one thing with all these corners, in the long run, is going to cost a lot. Because when you have a house that have irregular shapes, when you're doing the roofing, you'll need to have valleys in your roof design. So all these things are going to increase attention to detail, and it's going to cost a lot more. Number 2 on my list is mold your blocks. About 70% of construction cost is the cost of the actual building materials. If you want to profit from this part of the project, I'll normally recommend this when you need blocks, more than 1,000 blocks. Because from my research, you could possibly save 50,000 naira to 70,000 naira per 1,000 block. So imagine a project where you need, let's say 10,000 blocks, and you are saving 70,000 naira per 1,000 blocks. So in a project where you need 10,000 blocks, automatically it means you would have saved 700,000 from the amount of blocks, and probably get even a higher quality of blocks. Everything is all about planning. Let's say before you start your project, you are planning to start your project in 6 months time, and you've got an estimate of the amount of blocks you need. If it's like 6,000 blocks, or if it's a duplex, if it's 10,000, 12,000 blocks, and you've got the space, you can mold the blocks and stack them, because you have to look at the block molding process holistically. Only transportation, you need to be transporting it from the block purchase site to your site, is already an incurred cost. This is not only applicable for individuals that are doing their own private projects. Even big companies that need 100,000 blocks, 200,000 blocks, they know all these things, and they are doing it. They do mold their blocks themselves. It's all about project management. Okay, before I start the project, you know that you have to mold your blocks and stack them and keep them, so that when you start your project, you can start making use of them. If you've got the time before you start a project, you can mold your blocks. You know, the thing with blocks, you need thousands of them. In a case where you need only like 300 blocks for maybe just to do a small block work or a small partitioning, you might not get significant saving. But with the thing with block work, you need a lot of it, like as much as 5,000 of it. So imagine you are saving like 50 naira per block, and you need 10,000 block. You'll probably be getting like 500,000 savings. The third way to save cost on your building project will be to buy your materials and stack them on your site before you start construction. I've seen this happen, and I can tell you it was a win-win situation. I'm not talking about materials that could possibly degrade, like timber and maybe cement, or when you keep them on site, or materials that could be stolen. I'm not talking about these. Example like your gravel, your sand, um, your blocks. You can get these things and keep them on site. You buy them beforehand. Why do I say this? Because generally, from time, all these things tend to increase when fuel price goes up, the price of the cement goes up, the price of the block molding process, if they use machine, goes up. So all these things, they tend to add and increase the price of materials. So this will be best and be a saving for you. I've seen a project. The person, he molded the blocks and he kept them on his site. He bought aggregates, that's gravels. He stored them on site. He bought sharp sand. He stockpiled all these things on site. And you could imagine the amount of savings he had. Because basically when we came to site, these blocks were there already. He molded the blocks long time ago, very solid blocks. He had the gravels, he had the sharp sand already stacked on site. Because probably, the cost savings, because by when you are constructing, maybe in 6 months' time, it could be double the price. You might have bought a block today for 200. When you are constructing, it might be double the price. And generally, it's a way of planning, because you don't want the day you need to start your foundation, you start buying sand, you will most likely could have logistic issues at that very time. So it's a way of planning, saving time and saving cost. The fourth method to save cost in the construction project without compromising on quality. Your rooms should be standard. This aspect is in the interior design, and that your room interior should be standard. What I mean by this, when you come to your rooms, because generally in your rooms, people don't tend to go into the rooms, like if it's a private residential house. Your rooms, in some cases, there's no point having maybe a Spanish tiles in your room and having a very excessive POP design in your rooms. In the rooms and the bathrooms inside the rooms, you can have a simple standard tiles in your rooms. You can have a plain POP with just a cornice design on the edge. This way is very simple and standard. But when you come to places like the main lounge, the entrance, you can have maybe a Spanish tiles there. You can have royal tiles or Italian tiles there. Because that way, in the prices of these things vary a lot. So rather than spending excessively in places where you could, save cost without compromising quality, you can have very good porcelain tiles or good ceramic tiles in your room. And then when you come to places like the lobby and the dining and the parlor, you just have, maybe you want to have a grand style POP. You have a grand style POP in your parlor and your dining, and the tiles, you get a luxury or premium tiles there, because these things are very expensive. Some people don't know this. They might be thinking of how to save cost, but I'm telling you, just in case you are looking to optimize your design. Obviously, this video might not be applicable to people that have a certain test and that have the resources as well. So this building is tailored to people who are looking to optimize their design to suit their budget. The fifth way to save cost in construction project will be to align your utilities to the same wall. This is also in the design phase. If it's in the case of a duplex, when you are building, you could have a mirror situation where you have the room upstairs, you have the room same place downstairs, because that way the piping work is going vertical and they're going to go on the same chamber. This is in terms of the connection optimizing. Plumbing work is a bit of a very technical part of the project, where you have the bathroom downstairs, you have the bathroom same place upstairs. This way, the whole piping will just be a vertical pipe and going to the chamber. Even in the cases of bungalows, rather than having the bathrooms at different angles, different points of the building, you can have them, maybe the bathroom aligned, all the bathrooms are on one wall. They're all on one straight wall. That way you run the piping straight, like all the chambers, you can connect them together seamlessly rather than having connections here and there. The sixth way to save cost in construction project, to have your foundation and your roof and your building height only as high as required. Because apart from foundation, having a high foundation to control drainage or flooding issues, sometimes people have high foundation for architectural purposes. Even the roof as well, same with the roof. Rather than measuring the roof and seeing how big the building is and knowing what slope you need that will be adequate for the roof, some people tend to do it for architectural purposes, which obviously is acceptable practice for the foundation or even the height of the building, the floor to ceiling level. Some people want it to be like an auditorium, they have as higher than required. So my recommendation will be only have your foundation or your roof as high as required, depending on your topography of your area. In one of my videos, I explained why you should have a high foundation and how the height of the foundation is determined. It's more like a chain effect. When you start having a higher foundation, maybe you have it 2 coaches more than what is required. It's not only in the block aspect. When you come to plastering, when you come to backfilling of the foundation, all these things have added up. So rather than, instead of you to have it where it's supposed to be required, you have it, for architectural purposes. Normally, when you come to the backfilling, definitely you need to top more and buy some cubic meter more of laterite to fill the foundation. So all these things additionally add up cost, because I can tell you foundation is sometimes a very crazy part of the project, depending on your topography. So there are even other ways. I think a good engineer should know this. If you have uneven topography, you might need to have different levels of excavation in order for the design to be optimized. Because construction is not all about construction. Engineering is a way of creating things, solving problems in a cost-effective way. So you have to know that in construction, the element of cost is what makes it worthwhile. Because in theory, every building can be constructed, but it's a matter of how effective or how efficient can you construct it. So an engineer normally should always have an effect of costing, cost implications. How expensive is this going to be? Is there any way we can get same standard in an efficient way? The seventh way to save cost in your construction project will be to dig all your septic tanks and all your underground reservoirs before the backfilling of the foundation. This is important because the cost of backfilling material, whether it be laterite or hardcore, it's a huge part of the construction cost. So in a case where you need to dig a septic tank, or let's say maybe a much larger building, let's say you're building apartments, multiple apartments, it might be worth digging all the septic tanks, or if in case where you have underground water reservoir, it might be worth digging them and then using them to backfill the foundation. This, depending on how high your foundation is, it might be adequate, but in some cases where the topography requires a higher foundation, you might need to supplement it with, new purchase of filling materials, which is laterite. Number 8 is dig your borehole or have a guaranteed and secure water supply before the start of your project. Water, when it comes to construction, water is a very important, just as how we drink water as human beings. Water is as important, same way in construction. Because if you neglect it, you're going to run into trouble, because everything, even when you arrive site, one of the first logistics you need to start setting up is your water. What is going to be the source of your water? When I mean water, I don't mean water to run the house when it's completed. I mean water for construction, because when you come to foundation, you need water water for the blinding, you need water for compaction, you need water for curing, you need water for casting of concrete, you need water for molding of blocks. And in a case where you need to buy water, in some places, depending on the scarcity of water, you might buy a tanker, 10,000 liter, as much as 10,000, as much as 20,000. And the surprising thing, you might need to buy them, 20, 30 times in the course of your construction project, depending on how big the project is. In some cases, it's all about a case of arithmetic calculation or consideration. In some cases where boreholes are cheap, it might be worth sinking a borehole, and that way you save cost, you save time, you avoid delays. So I recommend you have a guaranteed source of water supply. If possible, if you have tank, you can store it before you start project. That way, in a way, you are saving cost. Let's say you dig the borehole, if it's cheaper to do in your area rather than buying water. But obviously, you need to weigh your options. But in some cases, when decided properly, digging a borehole or having an alternate source of water, maybe connecting from your neighbor. I've had a project that a neighbor had his house set up already, and the water was already connected to the main water supply. That's the municipal water supply. So we had the option of either doing the piping work and having our own connection, or we had the option of connecting temporarily to his house. So it was up to us, and luckily we had an arrangement where we had to pay them to connect our water with hose temporarily. And I can tell you we saved thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of naira that way. So you just have to weigh your option, but make sure you have a stable water supply. The ninth way to save cost on construction projects, supervise the construction project. I can tell you this is very important because if you leave out your work in the hands of unqualified professionals, there are many things that could happen. Even things as simple as mix ratio, because if just in case you don't know, there's a specific mix ratio when you are casting concrete, because you can mix for different strengths. There are different strengths of concrete. There's C25, C30, C40. So you need to mix it to the right ratio. That's the ratio of sand, the ratio of aggregate, the ratio of cement, and the ratio of water. So it's important you supervise your project, because in some cases, there are cases where if you don't supervise your project, or you don't have a supervising engineer, or maybe a site engineer, or someone in the project management process supervising your project, workers might not mix the right thing, where obviously you might need to be using 2 bags. I mean, if the project is not supervised, they could mix 4 bags, and just to get the work done as soon as possible. So at the end of the day, you spent too much more cement than is required. So that's why supervision is very important in the project. So in that case of where extra bags of cement are just put inside the mix just to make the work fast and finish up, obviously at the end of the day it's going to be a loss because you are wasting materials. Another case why supervision is very important is because of cases of theft. Um, Obviously, at the end of the day, resources is meant to be managed. If it's not managed properly, or if there's no one supervising it, it will be prone to theft. Reinforcement could be stolen, cement could be stolen on site. So that's why supervision at the end of the day is very critical to ensure that your project goes seamlessly, and in that way you are saving cost, or at least not wasting material. Yeah, the 10th way to save cost while building or while carrying out your project is to not construct the perimeter fence initially. This ideally is not necessarily a way to save cost, but it's a way to plan, because some people they come in a project. If you have a tight budget, some people when they come to site, the first thing they start doing is they start doing the soccerway, they start doing the fencing, they start doing the gates. So It might not, the solution I'm proffering, it might not be a necessarily cost-effective solution because at the end of the day, you might need to do it. Or if you have a tight budget, you could, it's ideal, it's best when you come, you focus on the building first. So you leave out the fence, you leave out the soccerway and other external works. You focus on the building, start the foundation, do the German floor, do the lintels, do the pillars, do the block, probably do the roofing. Maybe even if at the end of the day your money is exhausted on the way, probably you've gone quite a long way before your funds are exhausted. So that way, your project is managed and you're able to achieve more and sort of make the most of your time and your resources at that given time. The last um, way to save cost while constructing is to avoid parapets. Parapets is actually very, very good. It enhances the beauty, the architectural um, aesthetics of the building. It helps guard the wall against rain. It's got a lot of benefits. It prevents creeping animals from going into your roof. It has a lot of benefits. It makes your house outstanding. But then, everything is all about cost. Some people might not be able to quantify the cost of having a parapet in a building. Just to put it in context, or just to explain more, parapet is an overhang that you have at the top of your building, just before the roof. The actual name is concrete fascia, or conventionally it's called parapet. So to construct a parapet, you need, bags of cement, 40, 50, 60, 70 bags of cement. You need reinforcement. Is a must. You need reinforcement in parapet. Even whether it's cast in place or even the precast one, you will need reinforcement. You will need formwork, especially if it's cast in place. So actually, the cost of having a parapet is a lot of cost. It could go into 400, 500,000, 600, 700, depending on who is doing it for you and the design, obviously, and the complexity of the design. So if you are a person, maybe you're just trying, you have not a lot of money, and you are just thinking, oh, how can I streamline my process to meet my budget? These are the part of the things you need to do. And parapet is good on its own, but this is part of the things I talked about in design holistically. So the design you would want to achieve should be like a simple, standard design. So far, I've covered 11 points. That's 11 ways you can save cost on your building project. I hope this video was informative and useful. Do let me know in the comment section if you found value in this video. Thank you very much for watching this video, and a lot more videos to come in future. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. This way it helps us to reach as much people that need this information. Thank you very much. I remain Emmanuel, and I'll see you in the next one.